Good morning, good evening. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing, we wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. It's a nice, beautiful day out today. I guess you don't need much of the Silverlight out there because the regular sunlight's doing pretty good. But there still needs to be some expose on those that are hidden in darkness. This is turning into Spam Week and Scam Week. I didn't make the rules, just this is all happening at once. So, Silverlight was going about his business today when his phone rang. And I know pretty much when my relatives and everybody's supposed to call, so I let it go through to voicemail. When I got there, came up with a peculiar number, actually two peculiar numbers. The first one was a V00000001, which I've never seen before. And then there was a 613 area code. 613 area code, for those of you not know, is around Ottawa, Ontario, in that general area. Well, Kingston, Ottawa, it's a huge territory, but mostly, up north. So I go to my voicemail and pick it up, and this gentleman calls, and I'm going to identify exactly what he said because it's important to break it down. Hello, this message is for Silverlight. He didn't say that, but he used a particular combination of my name I would never use. So let's leave that aside for now. This message is for Silverlight. I'm calling from RBC Royal Bank. My name is Eric. Please call me back at 1-833 blah blah blah. Now this immediately gets my gears turning because there's a very important difference that most people don't know. This is something you should always listen for in each and every one of your phone calls. There's a difference between I'm calling from and I'm calling on behalf of. I'm calling from means you're calling from the actual place. So if you work for XYZ Furniture Transport, then you would say, I'm calling from XYZ Furniture Transport. If, however, you're a bill collector, a lawyer, somebody who is not directly involved with XYZ Furniture Transport, then you're going to say, I'm calling on behalf of. So immediately, RBC, Royal Bank, they're a gigantic corporation. They have offices everywhere. So I do a reverse number lookup. And strangely enough, well, I already knew one thing first. First thing is, I know their head offices and collection and stuff is located in Toronto, not Ottawa. So the area code is off. So I run the 1833 number through Google. This is something each and every person should be in the habit of doing. If you don't recognize a number, put it into Google. Google's pretty darn smart. Now, 800 numbers, it's not quite as good, but for other things, it'll usually tell you, yes, this is so-and-so, and Royal Bank has a pretty good website. They were one of the first to develop the technology. I don't really have any dealings with Royal Bank, none to my knowledge, and this is the big red flag for me. I don't have any business dealings with these people. This guy's calling from a 1833, and that's what he claims he's calling from, but he's really calling from a 613. Right here, we have your classic scammer. Now, I'm going to give Eric, and I only say that because I haven't given out your actual number, so I can use your real name. I don't disguise people's names unless I want to protect their privacy. And the only reason I'm not giving out his last name is because I don't want to go get my notes on it. Yes, I take notes during everything because you never know what's going to turn out to be handy. This is why I like email correspondence, because I'm dealing with a particular agency, a rather notorious one that I did an expose on my last book, and they are horrible if you talk to them on the phone. You put it in email and you can always go back and say, you said this back then, but if they promise you anything verbally, just give that one up. Back to our, quote, Royal Bank, end quote, representative. So I decided I was going to call him. I had my phone recorder going. I was ready to upload one of the most entertaining videos of all time of me confronting a scammer and etc., etc. But unfortunately, it just goes straight through to voicemail. And it says, it doesn't say, this is Eric of the Royal Bank. It says, this is Eric, last name. And please leave me a phone number with a time to call back. That is not how professionals with a company leave voicemails. They say, this is, Tony from whatever division of the Royal Bank, because that gives you the confidence that you're leaving a voicemail with the right person. In 2021, just in the past couple days, I've run across some scams. So I would have been suspicious in 2000 about this number. So we have a gentleman who is potentially lying about his employment status. Now, he came across as a pretty smooth operator, the kind of person you'd expect to meet at a party, and he'd say, oh yeah, well, I'm into accounting or, some sort of professional. He did come across very well in his delivery. But old Silverlight's a suspicious old fox. So, his Google didn't match up. I was almost going to call Royal Bank themselves, but since I don't know what particular division he's a part of, I can't really go down that route. So this guy has probably got a 1-800 number, which anybody can open a 1-800 number if you have enough money. And scammers are all about money, specifically getting your money. There's a lot of people that don't want to deal with a bank, that don't want to deal with the government, that don't want to deal with anything. Trust me, it is stressful. I've dealt with it, and it's months of stress arguing over the smallest details. So that's basically how they get you. They call up, and this guy was trying the professional friendly approach, which, good tactic. If I wasn't quite so resourceful, I might have fallen for it. And it's despicable what these people are doing. Again, who's their target? I was ready. I had the whole conversation in my head planned out. And I was going to ask him, who specifically do you work for? Well, I work for the Royal Bank. Really, what department? I was ready and willing to go with this. But no, he wants to make his life easy. So he leaves 100, 1,000, however many of these messages in a day. And if he gets one worm on the hook, he's got his money. Unfortunately, I'm probably one of the only people in this area, or indeed anywhere in Canada, that does not have dealings with the Royal Bank. There's only a few big companies, Royal Bank, Scotia, Toronto Dominion, Bank of Montreal, who used to be the Bank of Molson's. And they're all really, most people have accounts with more than one. I admit I have more than one account with more than one, but I'm not going to tell you which two, but one of them is not Royal Bank. Not because of anything wrong with their services, but it's just I'm not with them and I have no particular reason to change over. Never had any problems with them, never had anything negative about them. So for this gentleman to be calling me is highly suspicious. Now, in a vacuum, someone who's not so tech savvy, someone who's not used to the wild west that is the internet and the modern world, this would be a very effective scam. And while I didn't talk to him, I can almost predict how it would have played out. Oh, I'm calling from the Royal Bank, and it turns out you owe these fees, but we're willing to let it go if you pay us. Okay, you owe us $10,000, but we'll let it go if you pay us $1,000. And most people will go, oh my God, and they'll try to settle it. Never settle. The trick to negotiating with all these big companies is to get past the first line staff, like Eric. Because they're not bad people. They're just not trained with all the ins and outs of the business. And that's the most polite way I'm going to put it. The first person is there. If there's something minor they can do, like change the date on a payment or something like that, they're more than happy to help you. And most of them do a wonderful job. This is not me taking a dump on entry-level employees. But these scammers try to masquerade as them. And if you do have a complaint, you don't take no for an answer. You go to the manager, and you don't do it by saying, "Let me speak to your manager." That's never going to work in a million years. You need to do your research. You need to find out which department they're part of. And then you don't deal with that person anymore. You figure out who the director, the manager, whatever that department is, you go straight to them. And if they can't help you, there's usually an ombudsman. There's usually some sort of a complaint resolution process. And then you start getting into, vice presidents and offices of the president and all sorts of thumb people who are actually able to make things happen for you. So don't deal with these 2-bit scammers that have nothing better to do than to waste their day calling after God knows what, hoping someone's going to pick up the phone and say, "Oh yes, I will happily pay you $1,000 to get 10,000 off of my record," or whatever. I don't know the numbers because I've never been silly enough to call for it. But the biggest clue, when I put his 1833 number into Google, every single thing that came back was, "This is a scam, this is a scam, this is a scam." So I knew I was dealing with a pretty illegitimate person, if my suspicions were not already there. So, the things to take away from this lesson, listen to me, I sound like a teacher. Number 1, don't answer the phone to just anybody. Call display is on almost every single phone these days. Use it, program your phone. And if you don't recognize a number, it's probably not in your best interest to answer, unless you're feeling feisty, in which case, go nuts. Have some fun. Lesson number 2, know your rights, know your responsibilities. You have the right to have somebody identify themselves to you. When I worked in transportation, I did a little bit of collection work myself. And whenever I called, it was always, "Hello, this is Silverlight. I'm calling on behalf of Silverlight Incorporated. And this is in regards to whatever it was, the load we moved for you back on May the 25th. Well, we have received a payment, we haven't received a payment, whatever it is, you go from there. Usually it was, we haven't received accessorials, which is another topic I'll get into one day when I really have nothing to talk about. Great way to make money off accessorials, though. That would be a fun topic. I should do that. Back to the point, though. If the person identifies himself on behalf of, or identifies himself as being part of the entity they claim to be part of, and they don't have that on their answering machine, that is a huge red flag. Google, Royal Bank loves, and most big organization loves to list their agents, even governments. I was surprised when I actually did a really deep dive into the subject of my latest book that I could even get a hold of the director of the whole darn thing. It was a little tricky. They made it so that you didn't know right away, but once you did a couple searches, you could break through and figure out how to get straight to the director's office. Remember, you have allies. There are ombudsmen. There's the Better Business Bureau. There's all sorts of places you can go for dispute resolution. You don't need to deal with that one guy sitting at the desk chomping on his cigar thinking, "How am I going to screw the little people over today?" No, there's always another way. And remember, the frontline people, God bless them, they're good people, they have well intentions, but their hands are tied simply because they're entry-level people, they haven't been trained. So take care of yourself, or know your consumer rights. Download my book, Family Disservices, because it'll show you how much incompetence is actually taking place in major organizations. But most importantly, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, get the merchandise, and we hope you have a fantastic, beautiful, sunshiny day.